Hello buddies, today I will share with you the mesmerizing drama of 2022 known as Spiderhead, which is absolutely fantastic. There will not be any romance today, unlucky I'm afraid. Spiderhead is an ultra-modern prison that more resembles a hotel. The prisoners living in it have a more lenient regime, have the right to walks, communicate with each other, and have the opportunity to reduce their sentence and receive bonuses, but all this is not given to them easily. In the Spiderhead, trials of medicinal preparations are conducted, and not all of them are harmless. To be fair, it must be said that all experiments are voluntary, and each prisoner has the right to refuse and return to the standard cell of another prison. Ray, one of the inmates, sits in front of a mirror. Steve announces the start of the test by injecting the drug into the boy's bloodstream. In just a minute, the subject is given the first dose of the medicine, and they start reading simple jokes, which Ray laughs hysterically at. When jokes are replaced by scary facts, the reaction. The guys remain the same. Ray continues to laugh hysterically. Another morning in Spiderhead is no different from the previous ones. Prisoners are awakened by a loudspeaker, and there they announce the name of the person who is participating in the trials today. Steve asks Jeff if he is ready to try the new N40 composition, which has not been introduced to anyone before. The man readily agrees to join the experiment. Besides the experimental medication, an additional drug is given to him, activating the speech centers of his brain. And Jeff manages to describe his condition in detail, mentioning the smallest details. Returning to the Spiderhead area, Jeff encounters Lizzie and informs her about his walk earlier today. Unfortunately, the guy can't tell about everything he saw, because after taking the drug that improves vocabulary, there is a side effect. Jeff can't put together a few words. The only thing the guy remembered was that everything that surrounded him at the moment of the experiment, whether it be flowers or factory pipes, caused in him a strong surge of love and admiration. In the evening, in bed before sleep, Jeff remembers how he ended up in prison. Resting with a friend at a party, the guys decided to go for a ride, and the intoxicated Jeff drove. On the following day, the N40 trials, or as they are currently referred to, Cupid, will proceed. But this time Jeff will not be participating on his own. In addition to him, they invite a cunning, daring girl who changes her opinion about her partner after the first few seconds of introduction. The conversation of the couple lasts only a few seconds, after which they cannot stand it and do various things several times. They do not care that they are being watched and even filmed, as the substance completely disables the mind. The process ends with young people confessing their love to each other, which delights Steve, and he instructs his partner Mark to closely monitor the subjects to know how they will behave when the drug wears off. The couple feels awkward after what happened and tries not to talk to anyone about it. Jeff, as before, spends his free time with Slime, without telling her about what happened at the trial, and tries to avoid meeting with Peter. The next day, he's introduced to the same Cupid, only in double dose, and instead of Peter, there is a woman in the room, whom sober Jeff looks at with disgust. But as soon as the substance enters the blood, the guy does all sorts of things with it. After this test, Jeff asks Marco to remove him from the kitchen, where they work together with Lizzie, as the guy feels uncomfortable continuing to communicate with his girlfriend. Steve takes Jeff to the lab, but this time to his spot behind the glass, and demonstrates to him that both of his colleagues from the previous experiments are seated in the room where the experiments are conducted. The leader suggests to the guy to choose which of the girls he is willing to administer a drug that causes severe attacks of fear and pain, but Jeff is unable to make a choice. Both friends are apathetic towards him, but he is unable to desire any harm towards them. Consequently, the girls are merely set free, thereby terminating the experiment. Having obtained the right to another Friday walk, Jeff calls his girlfriend, who was with him on the night of the accident, but once again, only finds an answering machine. The man spends the evening with the Slime, organizing a small Christmas surprise for her. Finding himself in his usual chair in the laboratory, Jeff sees in front of him Rogan, a huge prisoner covered in tattoos. The guy remembers everything that happened to him in the previous days with the girls and does not agree to the tests, as he does not want everything to be done to him now. But nothing happens, and the men are simply released after a couple of minutes of silence. Jeff understands what happened. He and Rogan were partners of one of the prisoners, and she had to choose now who of them would be injected with Durmanix. Having burst into Steve's office, Jeff confirms his suspicions by seeing something cunning there. Moreover, the doctor doesn't even argue with the prisoner, but on the contrary shows him a diagram of who should get close to whom under the influence of the drug. Steve reminds him that being in Spiderhead is a privilege, and if something does not suit him, he has the option to transfer to a regular prison, but he will not have the hope of early release. Understanding the hint, next time Jeff is calmly in the same room with Rogan, Steve sends Mark for the weekend, advising his friend to enjoy on the mainland. The leader himself wears Cupid to experience the delight that he could only see in his subordinates previously. The trials continue, and Steve warns Jeff that he will still have to use the drug on the girls, as some committee demands the purity of the experiment. The guy is trying to explain that he doesn't want anyone to experience the effects of this substance, regardless of his attitude towards girls. But the boss is adamant and reminds Jeff again of all the privileges he has in working with them. Not wanting to return to a regular prison, Jeff agrees to the introduction of the drug Heiter. Heiter starts crying and panicking, but the management calmly records the data, listening to Jeff's comments, which do not hint at romantic feelings. The goal of the experiment has been achieved, and Steve plans to finish it, but there is a leak, and Heather leaves. The girl, who is out of control, obtains a sharp object in her hands and manages to free herself from the torment caused by the drug. While Steve and Mark are busy attending to the girl, Jeff catches sight of the boss's lost keys and stumbles upon a notebook filled with notes about upcoming experiments and a lottery ticket bearing the same numbers as the names of the drugs he's introducing, providing a potentially significant connection. Having noticed that Steve is no longer behind the glass, Jeff manages to close the safe and throw the keys back so that the doctor does not realize that his secret is revealed. Steve warns Mark that if anyone finds out about what happened to Heather, and he will have to answer for it, he will drag everyone who participated in the experiment along with him. Lizzie is participating in trials for the first time, and the first thing they introduce to her is Durmanix. After what she had been through, the girl meets Jeff in a secluded place and shares her emotions with him. The girl admits that she is not sure if Spiderhead is better than a regular prison with the strictest regime. Jeff, in turn, also confides in his girlfriend and admits to her that on that night when in the accident, not only his friend was in the car, but also his beloved girlfriend, who did not survive the trip. That's why the guy is enduring the test of drugs on himself, hoping to redeem the guilt in this way. An open conversation between a couple leads to them spending the night together. Steve quickly guesses about the close relationship of his wards and decides to use this connection for his own purposes. When Jeff arrives at the upcoming test, he discovers that he is required to either consent to the implementation of a medication alongside Eliza or depart from Spiderhead. Jeff refuses, but the doctor gives him a chance to postpone the experiment until morning, and then meets a rebellious guy, already armed with Lizzie's personal file. It transpires that the offense for which the girl is currently incarcerated is so horrifying for her that no substance can exacerbate her suffering. Steve enjoys watching as the guy turns the introduction scale up to the maximum, but he quickly realizes that the guy is going to experiment on him, not on his girlfriend. Mark, seeing that he himself got trapped with the prisoners, Steve decided to fix the situation and handed the remote control to Jeff. The prisoner receives all the necessary information from Steve and convinces him to open the main exit so that he and Lizzie can leave the prison. But the manager manages to snatch the remote control and administer the girl the maximum dose of Dormanix, thereby causing wild suffering, after which he smashes the smartphone so that no one can cancel his command. The couple manages to break free from the effects of the drugs and run out of the laboratory, but at that time Steve announces over the loudspeaker that because of the escapees, everyone else will be returned to prison, where their comfortable life will come to an end. The search starts for Jeff and Lizzie. Numerous experienced criminals, including the massive tattooed Rogan, intend to handle the couple, which deprived them of all the bonuses of this establishment. Steve himself is trying to hide with the medicine, as the police boats that Mark called will be coming for Spiderhead soon. Steve manages to depart base and fly in small plane before cops arrive, but since his remote control is broken, drugs are mixed up. Enter his bloodstream in huge quantities. Another Cupid's throw causes admiration, and the man turns the plane towards a tiny rocky island, seeing it as a paradise. Mark, on the last boat, observes how his ex-boss circles above the sea and subsequently collides with the rocks. Jeff and Lydia hijack a boat and manage to sail away before the police arrive. Happy and free, young people regret only that Steve did not invent a drug that would induce self-forgiveness. Friends, thank you for watching. Write in the comments what you think about this movie, and please don't forget to support us with likes and subscriptions.